Tankers, welcome back to another one of my videos. I am Blitz, and today I'm going to be talking about the WZ-111 5A. Now this tank has just come into the game, and unfortunately it is in crates. Now a lot of you guys already know my opinion on crates. Personally, I do not like them in the slightest bit, and I feel that honestly, if you want to get a tank like this and you really like it, maybe get like the one bundle that gives you the 2 crates, but other than that, don't bother dropping any more money, because everybody knows that these tanks are going to come back into the store, you know, a couple months later. It's how they always work. The Badger's done that. Pretty much every other Tier 10 collector vehicle has come back into the game. So eventually you will be able to buy this tank for gold or for a fixed price whenever Wargaming does decide to bring it back. And because this isn't a super special tank, I do think it should be back within the next couple of months. In most of my tank reviews at the end of the video, I do say whether or not the vehicle is worth the price tag that it usually hits the store for. However, as you guys know, crates do not give you a fixed price or a definite number that you need to open to be able to get this tank. So I can't really tell you guys whether or not it is worth the price tag, because there is no price for me to base this number off of. So in this video, I'm not really going to be talking about the price of the tank. As soon as I get this little bit over with, that is going to be it. I'm going to be talking about the tank, how to play it, everything else you need to know, armor, and stuff like that. Now when you take a look at the 5A statistically, the first thing you'll probably notice is the damage per minute is not the greatest. It's only at 2601. And the reason of that being is because you'll notice it does 460 damage per shot. So just like the IS-7, Wargaming sacrificed a lot of damage per minute to be able to gain more damaging shots, to scare the enemy more, and to hold position. Not to mention it has pretty good penetration with its standard ammo of 260, and if you need to load that heat ammo, your penetration will go up to 303 millimeters. However, I would definitely suggest to run calibrated on this tank, because heat does get quite a large buff in the pen. So if you run calibrated with the heat on this tank, you're going up to 333 millimeters of penetration. And your high explosive is very, very important, especially on a larger caliber tank like this one, because it's going to do 600 average damage, and that is quite a nasty amount. Any lightly armored vehicles, leopards, Batjet, anything that you can get the shot in the side with HE on, you're going to obliterate with the damage. And not to mention, even if there's a tank that's, let's say, got 150 hit points left, and they're only showing their side armor or their side scraping, you can load an HE and just shoot it at their track and probably kill them 50-60% of the time, just because your splash damage of that 600 damage will easily be able to take them off of the game. So overall, it does have a pretty solid gun, even though the damage per minute might not be the best when you look at it on paper. When we move on to the gun handling statistics, the first thing is the aiming time at 2.44. And while that is a little bit on the worse side of the scale, it's definitely not terrible. It actually is quite a bit better than the IS-7. However, the dispersion is not the best, which is to be expected for doing 460 damage. It's at 0.353, so you're definitely not going to be super accurate, especially at the longer distance shots. You're going to have to aim in, and I would definitely suggest to take your time with this tank. Don't just snap shots because you think they're going to go in. As I said before, the damage per minute on this tank kind of sucks, so you want to wait for your shells to aim in, take your time, make sure your shots count, because every shot you miss is just lowering your damage per minute more and more and more. But one good thing is the dispersion factors while moving are actually excellent on this tank, so your aiming circle does not always bloom to the maximum value. And another really, really good thing about this tank is the gun depression. It's sitting at 7 degrees. Both of these games I have played for you guys today, I am using my gun depression to the max it can go. This game, dead rails, you can see I was always on the ridgeline, never making sure to pull too far over, but I was still able to get quite a bit of damage out and then push aggressive at the end of the game. Same for the next map. I'm going to be on mines, an excellent map if you have gun depression, and since this tank has just the slightest edge over a vehicle like the IS-7 or the WZ-113, it can actually do really well in some scenarios where you just might not have had enough gun depression in the competing heavies. Moving on to the mobility of this tank, it is pretty quick. In fact, it can go up to 50 kilometers per hour forwards, and unlike the WZ-113, it can actually turn. That was my biggest complaint with the WZ, is that you just could not turn it after you went in a straight line. The turret was slow, and the tank's traverse speed in general just completely sucked. The 5A has very good traverse speed, the turret can turn, and I am very happy that they did give it an overall good top speed. It's got a beefy engine, so it's able to get into position. You saw when I was on mines here, I was able to get into that hill position very quickly, and then hold the line pretty well. So that is one really good thing about this tank as well. However, not everything is perfect on this vehicle, and the armor profile is far from that. You can see I've brought it up on Armor Inspector, and yeah, the entire superstructure of this vehicle is just completely penetrable by pretty much any round at tier 10. You can see it's only about 245, 250 millimeters thick on the upper plate, and that's really not going to cut it up against vehicles at tier 10 because they all sit around 250 millimeters of penetration. And by the way, that's with standard ammo. As soon as you load heat or your APC or whatever your premium ammo is, everything on the front of this vehicle is pretty much going to be an auto penetration. The lower plate isn't much better, only around 209 millimeters thick. And even if you think, well, maybe I'll just angle the tank, you can see that that upper part is still gets even weaker because it is at an angle, unlike most of the Chinese tanks. And as well, as soon as you try and angle this tank at the slightest, the side armor becomes easily penetrable right below the spaced armor. Don't shoot at the top of this tank if you go up against it. You will not penetrate it. You can see that that's very, very thick spaced armor. But right below it, you can go right through the tracks, only about 180 to 200 millimeters thick. Very easy to take out this tank, even at some of the toughest of angles to penetrate. So it is very, very hard to run this vehicle like a super full-blown heavy, I have noticed. So I tend to run it back a little bit further, use the gun depression more, because as you can see, that turret armor is very, very impressive. In fact, it's about 400, 500 millimeters thick all around the entire turret. The weakest spot's only about 330. It is pretty much completely impenetrable by any ammo in the game. Even most premium ammo is going to have an extremely hard time of penetrating this turret. However, again, there are some big weaknesses on it. You can see the top has cupolas, only about 192 millimeters thick on this one, and the other one's about 220 to 210. So, again, every tier 10 vehicle and tier 9 should easily be able to penetrate your cupolas. So you do need to move the tank backwards and forwards, especially if you're face-hugging vehicles like an E100, where they're looking at the roof of your tank. Those cupolas become very easy to penetrate, so you want to move your tank a lot. You don't just want to sit still, because people will aim at those cupolas. I've been hit in them, so you definitely need to move. But if you do use your gun depression well, you can notice that that upper plate becomes almost completely impenetrable, 312 millimeters thick. The turret is always going to be impenetrable, pretty much hides your cupolas completely, and that's when this tank just becomes such a menace on the battlefield. You need to use your gun depression, and that's why you can see in both of these games I've shown you guys, I've maximized my gun depression's ability. So it is one thing you do need to remember about this tank. The side armor, as I said, the upper part's okay with the spaced armor, but still, even side on, you're not going to bounce much. The sides are very, very weak. Side of the turret is pretty strong, though, about 190 thick, so you can get some lucky bounces there. But again, rear, only about 75, so any 155, 152 millimeters, just slam HE right to the rear of this tank, and it's going to go all the way through every single time, and also the rear of the turret. But other than that, you can see the armor profile is a little bit of everything. It's good in the turret, and you can use your gun depression and do amazing, but also, it's not very good in the hull, so you definitely have to know what you're doing. But if you know how to do it right, you can do really, really well. So, what's my final opinion on this tank? Well, personally, I actually really like it. A lot of people are like, well, this tank's not worth it because the IS-7's better. First of all, it is a tier 10 collector tank, and just like a premium vehicle, this earns quite a hefty load of credits. And as I've told you guys before in most of my rant videos, The main reason with premiums nowadays and collector vehicles like the Smasher is that they're completely overpowered. And that's not what a premium tank should be. A premium tank should be just like any other vehicle in the game, except it earns credits, and that's the point. A premium vehicle is meant to earn experience, earn credits, and help you grind along the way. And that's exactly what this WZ-111 5A is like. It is not overpowered in the slightest bit. I would call it just on par with a tank like the i7 or the WZ-113. If you know how to play it, you can play it extremely well. In fact, I'm playing about 20% better in this tank statistically than my IS-7, and that's because I'm playing a little more cautious, I'm playing a little bit further back, and I'm using a little bit more skill than I would in the IS-7, just because the IS-7 is more of a brute force heavy. You sit at the front, you take the shots, you deal the damage. This tank, you stay a little bit further back. As you saw, I never really pushed over this hill on mines until I had to, and as soon as I did, my armor completely fell apart. So you have to use a lot of knowledge when running this tank. It's not just a simple point-and-click vehicle. So I do like that. It is tough to run it, and because of that, it gives me a new sense of playstyle in a tier 10 heavy tank. I don't like running a vehicle like the i7 just because that's it. You know, you don't do anything with the armor. It's already angled for you. All you have to do is hide the lower plate. This tank, you have to angle the armor. You have to know how to run it in certain scenarios, because if you don't, you are going to fall apart very, very quickly, and I learned that extremely quickly myself in the first couple of games played in this tank. But other than that, guys, that is my review on this vehicle. I really do like it. Unfortunately, it is in crates, and as I said before, crates are completely up to you. But other than that, I hope you did enjoy this video. As always, make sure to smash that like button if you did. Also, I want to apologize for not posting many videos in the past week, or actually any videos. I've just been super busy with exams. I've had to work. I really haven't had enough time to get videos out. I am back up and running in Blitz, so I should all be good. Constantly posting every single day as long as I have time, and I'll make sure to let you guys know for the future. You know, instead of like every couple of days letting you guys know if I'm okay, I'll be letting you guys know constantly, daily, if why I can't get a video uploaded or something like that. So make sure you do click that bell notification for community posts if there is any information like that. But other than that, as I said, hit that like button, make sure to subscribe, help this channel grow, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.